All right, we are live here, the first episode of our new podcast here at New Smyrna Speedway, the Pit Pass podcast. And I am Ryan Stevens, the announcer here at New Smyrna Speedway, and I'm here with Adam, our marketing director, and our special guest, Miss Barbara Pierce, is here today to join us for today's first podcast. And
I'm excited, man. I'm over here holding the phone going, I hope this goes live right now. I'm like double checking.
I want to be ready. We got people watching, so.
Okay, we're already live on 3. That's good. I just sorry, bear with us. Oh yeah,
it's working. All right,
nice, man. I'm excited to do this. It took a while setting this up, but and if anybody's nervous, I'm going to tell you it's me, because I'm a rookie in racing. I got a giant yellow stripe down my back, so I'm the one here that if anybody's going to make fun of, it's going to be me.
Well, we'll get those rookie stripes off you.
Yeah.
We're just going to be up here having some fun, and we're glad we could be joined by Barbara. Barbara, you've been around here for a long time. You used to race here, as a matter of fact, and I think you have like. How many feature wins do you have here? Do you even remember?
I believe at New Smyrna I had 48.
48. That's incredible. We'll get you in a car, get you up to 50. What do you think?
Well, my doctor didn't like that idea. I'm all for it, but he just didn't care for that. He didn't like me thinking about it.
I don't mind rounding up, so we'll go with 50.
All right.
How long you been racing? When you were racing, how long was the whole career?
Let's see. Over 35 years.
35 years of racing.
It's a family affair, too. Your husband races, and Chad used to race as well.
Yes.
And Chad's down there with, what's he got, like 6, 7 sportsmen down there now that he works on?
He'll have several up here tonight. I don't know exactly how many, but he's coaching. He's not driving anybody's car.
Yeah, I mean, just because they're not racing anymore, the Pierces are heavily involved here at New Smyrna. As a matter of fact, Barbara still works here. What do you do now, Barbara?
I handle pit road and pump the gas and
handle pit road. That itself is in the job. You're about to. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. You're about to name 8 other things, but handling pit road by itself and trying to jockey in all those drivers out there and handling your.
It's really not that difficult. They usually pay attention, and the main reason I'm down there is to keep them from having a crash on pit road, because we've come pretty close a couple of times.
That would be pretty devastating. And I think they know if there's someone that they're going to listen to, it's Barbara, because I've seen the respect that you have down in that pit area and the things people say. If your picture pops up on Facebook, people know who you are. So I think that goes a long way. And we haven't had a crash on pit road, so doing a good job down there.
Thank goodness. Thank you.
Yes. And we have somebody that works up in turn 4 who does the same thing, basically. And he's wrecked cars before. So,
well, he never raced one.
Well, that's true.
I have, and he used to work on a truck that my son raced.
Oh, that's right.
A long time ago.
Well, we got to put he out there. Who's he?
That's my son, Chad.
There we go.
And Eric works up there in turn 4.
Yes.
So, and
Eric Reynolds.
Eric Reynolds, yep. And he's actually Employee of the Year here last year. And but we erased the fact that he might have wrecked a couple super late models at one point. But hey, we all make mistakes, right?
Well, the super lates do a good job of that on their own too.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes.
I want to go back a little, Barbara, and maybe before you got in a race car, walk me through the history. What got you in a car? How'd you start racing? Where'd you come from? Just give me the back bio.
Well, I was raised in Charlotte, North Carolina, and in the 60s, I was at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and I saw Fireball Roberts' bad crash, which he had eventually died from because he caught pneumonia from laying so long. And so then I graduated from high school, and I moved to Daytona. And I worked for Durham Life Insurance at that time. And one of my agents said, "Would you like to go to Samsula and see some racing?" Well, I hadn't seen any racing since Fireball's crash. So I said, "Well, what is a Samsula?"
I'm from Florida, and I didn't know Samsula until I got out to New Smyrna.
I know. So it's not talked about very much. So I came down here, and this was in the 60s, I think 66 or 67, I'm not sure. And I saw Marion Edwards' fiery crash where he eventually died. And so then I swore off racing for a long time. My son was born in 81, and we were spectators here, and I had enough of Disney and SeaWorld and Busch Gardens, And so I told my husband, I said, "Well, let's go see if that old racetrack up at New Smyrna is still open." He says, "Okay." Well, I was going to hurt myself bad in the grandstands because I am not a spectator. And my son was real small. I was about to get him hurt too. So I told my husband, I'm better off on the racetrack and safer than I am up here.
That's an interesting way to get started.
Yeah.
Not at all how I see it, but okay.
So we bought me an old 76 Oldsmobile Cutlass for an enduro car, which ran 100 laps a race about once a month.
And I'd love to get that stuff back out here.
Oh, yeah, I would too. They were a lot of fun.
Mhm.
That's when I learned don't look in the mirror. Because when I started, I'd look in that rearview mirror and there'd be 50 of them about to fall in on me coming down
Right.
the back straightaway. And I said, no, I don't want to see that. So we took the mirror out. And then my husband was driving a bomber at that time, and he was going to move up to what we call Sportsman, which the prolates replaced back then were
Okay.
late models. And he asked me if I'd drive his bomber. So then I started driving his bomber. And then I got unhappy with that, and I wanted to move up to Sportsman, and we did. And I drove a limited a couple times. I just didn't care for that class.
So
They're
you
just
came
too
up.
serious.
You came up through the ranks then. You started in
Yeah.
enduro cars, which is like a good way for people who don't want to do it all the time or don't have
Right.
the funds to do it all the time to go out and have a little fun. And you move up to bombers, moved up the ladder, and were quite successful. So it's nice to hear that progression, because the ladder system is still here. It's just I don't think we see it as much anymore. People don't move up. They kind of find a class they like and stick to it nowadays.
And that's
So,
a problem. 'Cause
yeah.
some of these cars, it takes you a while if you've never done it before to
Absolutely.
learn.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge learning curve.
We've seen recently some of our bomber guys come and move up, and they do hit that learning curve. They dominate the bombers, move up, and then they run back of the pack, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm still trying to learn this thing after a year and a half." So
Yeah,
it's quite a jump.
it's a big learning experience. And if you ever think you know it all, you may as well hang it up, because you don't. You're
Mhm.
always learning something out there.
It's an always evolving sport, which might not always be a good thing, but the cars are constantly changing, and you got to keep up with it. And
Exactly.
it gets out of hand.
You
And
got to keep up with technology, which
Mhm.
is getting real complicated
is.
these days.
it is. I don't even understand it. So
I'm sorry.
No,
Go ahead,
sorry.
man. I'm so in your story, Barbara. So I'm like, it's 81. We've driven enduros and bombers. And how long? What was the time frame like? 1 year, 6 months, 5 years? What was that like?
I think I was in bomber. Well, I drove enduros and bombers at the same time. So
Okay.
I think it was like a three-year period
All right.
in the enduros and 2 in the bombers. And then the rest of the time was in Sportsman. And then my son came along. I put him in it because I figured it was time for me to get out. And that old car that he had, he ran 117 consecutive Sportsman races in it.
wow.
And then he and the Bellflower brothers had a little incident and flipped it over and trashed that car.
Oh boy.
That car and I was the same thing because I'd been in it for so long. And I just cried when we had to trash it and get rid of it. So.
I can imagine getting attached to a car like that. I mean, I get attached to some of my cars that I have, but one that keeps you safe, one that wins your races each time you climb out of it, that would probably be that would be difficult to part with.
Well, they're like family because you put so much money and so much effort and so much time in it. I'm telling you, racing is the most fun thing I ever did in my entire life. It is also the most expensive and labor-intensive thing
Oh, yeah.
I've ever done.
More than marriage?
This might be
Yes, more than marriage.
this might to a lot of people just be amateur racing, but I'm telling you, these guys who are pulling in behind us here, they put more work into their cars than any of the NASCAR drivers do. The NASCAR guys just show up on the weekends and drive. A lot of these guys are down here working on their cars. They build their cars. So, I mean, it is very easy. I can see why people would get attached to their vehicles.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And anytime you bring it out here, any track, you run that risk of it being its last lap. So,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's happened a time or
Oh,
two.
yeah.
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 I mean, even the driver, that's scary. I mean, that's a scary sport, being like we said, the yellow stripe guy in here, and I'm watching the female and male drivers come here. I mean, topping hundreds of miles an hour, coming by 100,
Oh, yeah.
104. I'm like, oh my God, I'm bad on I-4. You know what I mean? I'm just sitting on I-4, much less, a lady like you or any man that's getting down there. Even, I mean, there's 14-year-olds doing this. I mean, that's fascinating for me to watch.
It's crazy. This is safer than I-4.
No,
It most certainly.
You know
well, we're
what?
all going in the same direction most of the time. Yes.
That's funny. It is safer than I. Well, I would agree. Way less crashes out here. People know what they're doing, right? And you don't even have to use a blinker here.
You don't even have to use brakes sometimes, and sometimes they don't when they should.
That's what makes it so entertaining. You just never know what's going to happen here in New Smyrna.
Well, you're going to see things on the racetrack you never saw ever in your life.
Oh yeah, just when you think you've seen it all.
Exactly.
So you're sorry, brother.
No,
so really, you just wanted to race from kind of the moment you saw it, kind of took a break a little bit, but then we're like, let me in a car. You race what 5, 6, 7 years up through the ranks all the way to sportsman. And how long was the run then at sportsman? And by the way, I'm gonna have to say maybe it should be called sportswoman or some sort of.
Oh, I don't mind being called sportsman.
Well, I'm just trying to be PC for
I know.
nowadays, right?
All right.
Right? Give a shout out to the young
ones. It
ones.
was 10 years in sportsman.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a long time. I wanted to do this when I was 13.
Oh wow.
But back then, a woman didn't dare enter that field, And so I figured God was looking out for me. I'd either be dead or crippled.
Yeah. So it's so interesting for me to hear something like that. A woman's not even allowed to drive then, you know? And you broke that barrier. I mean, so much today we hear about so many women that break barriers in Congress or politics or these things. But I mean, you're a barrier breaker in racing, Barbara.
Well, I guess I always did it for my entertainment, nothing else.
And then that's what it should be about. Everyone should be able to do what they want to do, and stories like that are always fun to hear. So.
Exactly.
And there's still we still have females out there today. I mean, I wish there were more of them, but the ones that come, we got Kate Clouser out there driving this year, and she's been getting better and better. So, it's good to see that, you were out there a while ago and had success, and we still have drivers, female drivers that are having success or starting out their career. So it's good to see that the movement is still ongoing even today.
And you started that.
No, I don't think I started
Who's
it.
the first female driver?
I have no idea, but I don't
Quiz
think I
question.
was the first.
If anybody answers who the first female driver gets in free tonight. By the way, it's half off to get into Smyrna, but if you answer, you get in free tonight.
Well, I can tell you, Adam, on that subject, Barbara's one of the most successful female drivers that we've had here for sure. So if you say the name Barbara Pierce around here, most of our fans, drivers down in the pits, will know Barbara. So
Rusty said most winning female.
Most winning for sure.
Well,
I mean,
thank you.
Almost 50. We'll go 50. I like 50.
Yeah, I like 50. Now 52 is my favorite.
Well, I used to run Speed World too. In fact, at one time, if you were going to be in points, you had to race both Speed World and New Smyrna.
Really?
And I thought I had the best of both worlds because New Smyrna was a 3/8 mile and this was a half mile. So I had the best of both worlds.
Or Orlando was a 3/8 mile.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, and the half mile here, so you got to do both.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, for the fan standpoint too, to be able to see both sides. I mean, I see New Smyrna really as kind of like the diamond of short tracks in Florida. Am I correct to kind of see it? I mean, not just that I work here, I'm biased, but just from the other tracks I've been to, the way it looks, the way it runs, the way the drivers are here.
It's one of the most challenging. It's the fastest, other than Daytona, but
yeah,
short track wise, it's the biggest, it's the fastest, it's intimidating. If you can win here, you can win anywhere, as they say. I believe Richie Evans said that here. And, that's what makes this place so challenging and so entertaining to watch, because if you're going to win here, you have to be the best. So, I mean, and with Orlando being a smaller track, the challenge there, having to run both tracks, was you got a big, fast half mile here. You got a smaller 3/8 mile. The setups are different. So you can't just show up at one track and expect it to handle the same at the other. So that challenge from running both tracks back in the day had to be, I mean, I'm sure you can say it was quite challenging.
Well, wasn't as challenging then as it is now, because
Sure,
all we
with
did
all the
was
technology.
change the rear gear.
Okay.
And come up here and race. But now,
Now that takes my dealer about like 6 weeks to fix my car if I got to do that. And you're like, all we got to do is change the rear gear.
Well, it wasn't easy. We were running a Ford 9-inch in the Sportsman, and it takes a while to change one of those out. But now they change springs, they change shocks, they change the rear gear.
Yeah, well, Richard Coleman actually was the first one to Janet
Guthrie back in the NASCAR anyways.
So.
Yeah.
1977. Well, you get in free tonight, Richard. He also said that, Barbara, you hurt a lot of sportsman feelings when you drove.
I might have. I don't know. I know I had some serious conversation sometimes with some of them.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna guess he's doing it kind of as a joke, as they just all of a sudden got hurt a little bit. They couldn't keep up.
Well, he's in North Carolina too. Ricky is.
Oh, okay.
All the way from NC.
He's my son's age.
Oh.
They were good friends. Still good friends.
Is there a race at New Smyrna that sticks out to you that you were in? A night, anything else, something that the first thing you kind of remember, if as well, journeying down New Smyrna Speedway lane for you, if you will. That's a lot of puns in there. But any particular race for you? It doesn't have to be the best or the one, but just whatever sticks out to you.
We had a 50 lapper here one night in the Sportsman, and I won the only neon trophy ever presented to Sportsman winner.
That's awesome.
And it's
That
down
is
in
memorable.
the track bar now.
Ah, okay. I'm gonna have to go look for that now. I'm sure I've seen it a million times down there, but now I'll know. Now I'll know the history behind it.
It's white. It's got a white background.
It's got to be the 80s or early 90s, maybe.
80s, I believe it was.
Yeah, of course it would be. I think we should bring that back, the neon trophy race or something.
Right? Turn the lights out and put the headlights on. Light it up with neon lights. That'd be something.
When I was a kid, we used to go to different racetracks, and they didn't have lighting like they do now. So people would pull toward the track and turn their headlights on to race.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
And they used to fight with hammers and sledgehammers and tire irons and stuff and be the best buddies the next day.
Well, thanks to Wheeling, we have great lighting here now. I see videos online, and the lighting was so much dimmer back then. It gave it it kind of gave it a spookier atmosphere, like almost like you're racing in the middle of a swamp almost. And now we have this beautiful Wheeling lighting, and all it's great because the cars look all nice and pristine. But I'm sure, like just from racing back in the day, and you look at it now, and I'm sure it's like literally night and day.
Oh yeah, it is. And we had, before we got these, when fog would come in,
oh goodness,
it just would intensify the fog, because I've raced up here under those old lights where you couldn't see the guy in front of you till you touched him.
Yeah, we get some fog out here for sure. We had fog during speed weeks, and we had to cut a race short. So I can only imagine if we didn't have the lighting we had now, what it would. I mean, it was hard to see turn 1 and 2. So I mean, never mind back in the day. So
exactly.
My jaw's still down. I'm over here like, what? You can't see the person in front of you. There's dust everywhere and fog, and you're like, woo!
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. My God. I mean,
so many interesting stories.
I better not hear any driver talk about how bad it is ever. Anywhere.
They have it good now.
Right?
Yeah, they do. They're spoiled now.
You heard that. I didn't say it. I mean, but I can imagine. I can only imagine. Driving in something, you mentioned it being spooky. It's like those old video games. I forget the death metal one or whatever. When you're driving in circles, smashing everybody. I forget the video game. I'm dating myself. But that's kind of like the look I had back then in my mind. Is what that must have been like. Is there a time on the track where you really thought like, I'm flying in the air. This is not good. Something. I mean, something that
In 1996, Ted Head and I had a little incident right at the flag stand. I angled across the track to that white wall. They had huge tractor trailer tires at the end of it. I couldn't get that car to slow down, but somehow it turned. The front end impacted with those tires and that wall, and it shot me up in the air.
Holy God.
I thought I was going over the fence, and I wish I had because I spent 3 or 4 days in the hospital up here.
Oh my goodness.
But other than that,
and right back in the car.
Well, after I think I was out. The doctor said 6 weeks. I stayed out about 8 and let Butch drive it.
Wow.
Then I got back in it.
I mean, if you have a good career, there's always those. Yeah. There's always those bad moments. So you know, but at least you're able to bounce back, and you kept it in the family too, letting Butch hop in.
Well, I'm telling you, it's an addiction. It's worse than drugs, and I never took drugs, but I've seen people on those bad things. It's bad. That's why I'm still here. I can't stay away from it.
Yep, I hear you there.
And we're glad you're still here, man.
I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, no,
it is an addiction. So I know I don't drive, but just being here, getting here, walking up these bleachers every day, and I just look around. That's my happy place. So even though I don't drive, racing is an addiction. I can agree with you there.
And you can tell by the fans, or some of them are such diehard fans. They sit out here in the rain, the lightning, and everything.
Oh yeah, the ones that stuck around to the end for the Clyde Hart last Thursday. Yes. I mean, I know it was getting late and it rained again, and a lot of people went home. But the ones that stick around to the bitter end, those are your diehards, and
Oh, exactly.
it's good that racing still has those diehards.
And we love every one of them.
Of course. And we love all y'all, even if you leave after the first race. We get it. We get
Exactly.
it. We just appreciate y'all being here. So.
Yep.
Tony Newsom says that you and him used to go at it on the track there, bringing up some old memories.
Oh my God, yeah, that is forever ago. A long time ago. I don't even remember the year, and I saw him in the pit office about 6 weeks ago, and I didn't even recognize him. He's changed so much.
Oh man, and yeah, used to be on Sunday Night News. You two going at it. It looks like.
Well, Tony still comes out here and runs his pro late from time to
Yeah.
time. So who knows, Tony? You might make it back on the news. Just if you make Barbara mad or something, it might get you on the news.
I doubt that didn't happen.
Yeah. We were talking about doing a little segment on the show called Racing 101, and I just don't think it's going to be necessary. I am.
Barbara taught us both a lot today.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Is I think the more we talk to more drivers, legends, and barrier breakers like as yourself and current drivers, I think I'm just going to get all the education I'm going to need here.
Oh, I think you will too.
Yeah, and
Y'all will be shocked.
Oh yeah, I love learning the history. I've only been here. This is only my third year here. I've been a race fan my entire life, but I've only been around here. I was here as a fan for a year, then I started working here. So hearing the history for me is exciting as well, because I don't know all that history. So these stories are fascinating for me too, even though I've been a race fan my entire life. I grew up north, and then I came down here. So hearing these stories is great for me too. So
We have some
fun.
new people here at New Smyrna Speedway, and I'm so glad we have new blood here.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all have injected a whole lot of enthusiasm, I think, back into racing.
That's what we're trying to do.
And I think you're doing real well with that.
We got some serious shoes to fill with yourself here. That's left quite an imprint, and people like Clyde and some other people I've learned about that have left a heck of a footprint here. And it's I think Ryan and I just trying to fit into those footprints, or trying to even make something close.
Well, y'all are doing real good, I think.
Oh, we appreciate that.
You're welcome.
It's about that time, I think, for you on the pit, right? Nothing's
Yeah.
going to start unless you're down there doing your thing.
Oh, they'll start without me.
Well, it's almost we don't need to be holding you up.
Okay.
Almost time for practice to start here today, and it's still nice and sunny. So
Right.
that's what we like to see.
Yes.
I think so. Weather's been great all week, and but Barbara, you're welcome back on this show anytime. You want to say anything, any shout outs or anything you want to leave, last messages or something to drivers, anything.
Yeah, we're having a reunion for Speed World in March of 2019. And I would like for all of my competitors to show up, please.
Yeah, so at Orlando Speed World when?
I think it's March the 17th or the 18th.
Okay, that's around St. Patrick's Day, isn't it?
Yes, I believe you're right.
Am I? 2 points out.
Well, if we can get the dates on that, we can post that and
Yeah,
get
it's
some
really
awareness out there
important
for you.
to me because
Yeah.
I went to Bomber Bill's 50th birthday last month, and I had the best time. It was like old home week. Rick Johns was there. Bruce Gayton was there. William Hindman, Andy Nichols. They're all guys that I've had contact with on the racetrack, and we just had the best time.
That
We
sounds
just
like a
need to
must-go
do
to
more of that.
Yeah, I
you
agree.
know?
It's fun, that camaraderie, and bringing back and looking back at the old times. It's
We
fun.
don't have the camaraderie today that we had
Mhm.
back when I raced, and that's what I miss. But I think we can gradually bring that back, because that means
absolutely.
a whole lot. Because
Absolutely.
this is a family sport.
This whole place we're all a family here. Whether you like each other or not, we're all a family here. And that's what it's all
Exactly.
about. It's not just a racetrack, it's a community. So,
Exactly.
if
Yeah,
we can
hopefully
get-
we can, man. I like the feeling that I'm around when I get around the racetrack and around the fans. It
Mhm.
feels good for me. I selfishly get that feeling,
Good.
and like it, and it's fun. And like you said, if we can encourage everybody, at least come out, and try it, and be out here at the racetrack. Bring your family out. I mean, look, there's not a whole lot to do in New Smyrna, Daytona types areas. I mean, there's some things you can get into, nice restaurants, get the beach. There's some beautiful places. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But there's nothing a whole lot like coming to a racetrack and watching a race.
no
Exactly.
experience like it. So,
Exactly.
and our goal, my goal being the announcer here is to make sure you have fun, whether we have 10 cars on the track, 20 cars, 3 cars. Do what we have to do to make you have fun. If you ever don't have fun, just let us know. We'll work even harder. So
Well, y'all are doing a great job, I think.
I appreciate it, Barbara, and we don't want to keep you up anymore. I appreciate you coming on. I love chatting with you. I love our Wednesday meetings too. We get to catch up, and I'm always running around in the pits, taking pictures and interviewing you. So, thank you.
Well, thank y'all.
All
And
right.
y'all have a good evening.
Well, we'll see you down
we're at the
pits here in a
racetrack,
little
right?
bit. Yeah, that's the best part about it. So,
Okay.
all right, Barbara. Well,
We'll
we will
see you
catch up
later.
with you in a bit. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye
Thank
bye.
you very much. Oh man, I enjoy that.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much again.
Barbara's going to make her way out to.
Yeah.
I had Captain Video who used to do all the filming, every one of Pitch's races.
Yeah. You should be saying we're still live, so you should be.
We see. We gotta dig up all that history and check it
Yes.
all out.
I would
Yeah.
agree.
I got some blooper tapes too.
That we need to see.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we need to post that.
We gotta find this video.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Barbara.
The house they're on
She's awesome.
cassettes.
Oh yeah.
The big.
What's a cassette?
VHS.
I'm kidding.
Don't make me feel. I'm 72. Don't do that.
70. She is not 72.
She's young.
What?
That is young.
You do not look 72. 72. I hope I live that long. But
Yeah. Right.
maybe racing does keep you young too.
Well, you know, Adam. I guess it's a good transition. You've been around here. What's it been? 4 or 5 weeks now.
I actually started a day after my birthday.
Day after your birthday.
Yeah, May 29th was the birthday. I started on May 30th.
All right. So, you know, you're new to the Speedway. And, you know, like you said, you mentioned racing is kind of new to you. What has stood out to you so far? And I know we've had a lot of rain and whatnot, but what has stood out to you so far in your experience just watching the cars go around?
One, the fans' engagement. How much, I've been to basketball games, right? Unless it's the playoffs or something like that. I don't in football games, right? Unless you're those diehard fans screaming like that. It's the diehard fans that come, even if it's not the playoffs. It's just a regular Saturday race. It doesn't have to be a Clyde Hart or the Heart to Heart race coming up or the Governor's Cup. It's not. It could just be. It's just Saturday night. We race every Saturday, and they're here like it's the Daytona 500 or like it's the last lap of every race. And it's rare you find that in any sport, really.
Yeah. And that's the thing about race fans. Like they aren't here just because they're like, we're going to go to the races. They're here because they want to see some dang racing. And that's something to me that when I first started, I was super nervous. I'd never done anything. Public speaking used to be my biggest fear. And then I started doing it. I'm not afraid of it anymore. So if you ever want to get over your fears, just do it. And so when I first started here, I was terrified talking in front of people, but I loved racing so much that like when I first turned on the microphone, I was super nervous. And then as the night went on, the nerves went away because I was talking about racing. And one of the things that I've gotten better at over the past couple of years is the fan engagement and not being afraid to put myself out there a little bit, to be a little silly.
Dude, you were all over
jokes.
the place at Clyde Hart.
Yeah.
You were up and down. It was
and
great.
That's the thing. When we have rain like that, the worst thing is for the fans to, I'm running around trying to figure out what's going on half the time so I can tell everybody what's going on. But when they're just sitting around and it's raining, you throw some music on, but they want to be engaged. And that's what I was telling my buddy Wes, who comes up and announces with me from time to time. It's like, we just got to keep fans into it. And, I saw a few comments on Facebook and people were entertained. And, the rain is the worst thing at a racetrack. It's the most boring thing. So if we can keep people somewhat engaged and just having a little bit of fun through the rain delay, that's something that I've been trying to work on, because I mean, calling the races, that's where I excel. So I've been trying to work on that fan engagement.
You guys are great. I film you from standing behind you. I've been on the mic maybe 5 years now from Anywhere Public Speaking Podcast, and but what you guys doing calling the races, I'm out.
It's a blast, and like people are like, oh, you work at a racetrack? I'm like, well, I mean, technically yes, but I have a blast here, and that's what it's all about. Like when I come here, I'm not just like, okay, I have to do this job. I come here and I'm like, I cannot wait to get going.
Dude, you drive an hour and a half.
Yeah, well, hey, it's worth it to me to be able to come out here and be part of racing. I mean, I've loved racing my entire life, and I used to just sit at home and watch it. And then I was like, you know what, I need to start going to the races again. And I started driving out here, and I'm like, man, I love this place. I didn't care what was going on, if it was a big event, a small event. I liked the atmosphere here. It was fun, and I was like, man, I'd love to get involved. And then they put out a post. I needed a new announcer, and I'm like, well, that sounds terrifying, but I'm like, if I don't take this chance, I'm gonna kick myself for not doing it.
Yeah.
And so I just put myself out there, and I got the gig, and I started with zero experience, and I learn every time. I learn every time.
Dude,
And
you're an inspiration yourself here, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like I mean, how many Facebook videos and inspirational videos do people see that tell people to do that, right? And
Mhm.
that's exactly what you went and did. You said, I didn't want to talk to anyone.
Yeah.
No public speaking.
terrified.
And now you're
Terrified.
like, you know what? I'm going to be a radio or a race call announcer. I mean, and jumps right in and do it. Dude, you flowed through it, man. And
Well, thank you.
I think that also should encourage some drivers, you know, that like Barbara was saying, she's in the stands going, I could do that. You know, I
Mhm.
could do that. And to think that they can too, just like you can be an announcer or either working at the track or working in the pits. I mean, because all these racers now, they got their teams, their builders, the people that take care of their cars too, their spotters even.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
It's more than just the driver. There's a lot that goes into it down there. These guys work so hard, and you know, part of what's made this so much fun is getting to go down into the trenches and meeting the drivers and getting to know the personalities. And you learn so much about these guys that you start caring about them. Like as a fan, you come here, you see a crash, like, oh man, that's awesome. Those guys wrecked. That was crazy. Wrecks are exciting. You know what I mean? But when you start to get to know those people, you feel bad for them. You're like, oh my goodness, that guy just, wow, I know how much work he's put into that vehicle. And that's so sad to see. So it really changes your perspective once you get to know some of the drivers. 'Cause when you watch a NASCAR race, like, and you see a 20-car wreck at Daytona, you're like, that is awesome. That is what I want to see. And then you see a guy spin out and hit the wall, and you're like, oh my gosh, that I hope he can rebound from that, because I know he's on a budget. He doesn't have any sponsors. You see that, and you feel sad for him. So it's interesting how the perspective has changed.
That changed with me.
Yeah.
You know, of course, not being a race car fan, you know, not long ago, you're looking for that event. And like you said, until you interview the David Rogers, until you interview those guys and girls, and you're down there and you see that, I'm more scared now that everybody's okay first. My first thought was like, you know, oh no, I hope okay, they're good. And then, you know, I think it's important, you know, I know a lot of people watching the show and listen to this on the podcast that's going to be pushed to iTunes and everything are more than likely going to be race fans, but a lot of people aren't. And I think it's so imperative that people know how much really goes on, not just during the race, because there's so much going on during the race, but what it builds up to it, well, everything that goes behind it, as you were talking about.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, the fans show up. We open the gates at 6, and the diehards are here at 6. And they want to see everything they can see. What a lot of people probably don't know is our drivers drive. Some of them 2-3 hours away. They get here at 2-3 o'clock. They're coming in now. The pits are filling up. They're out there working on their cars, getting ready. It's not like they just show up and go. These guys are here. They spend half their day at the speedway getting ready to put on a show for people they don't even know. So I mean, it's more than just show up and watch a race, or the drivers show up and race. There's so much that goes into it, and you know, hopefully with this show we can bring more insight into everything that goes on here at New Smyrna, not just the racing. The racing is important, of course. That's our bread and butter. But if we can get people more involved with what's going on and be engaging with everything that goes on here, I think, well, hopefully that'll get some more eyeballs and get some more people here. And you know, I don't know about you, but I'd really like to see this place succeed even more than it has. And that's been my goal. I know I don't make any of the rules, but if we can do anything to help the drivers, the fan experience, that's, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Jane's building the new south stands over there with some party decks going up. So, I mean, it's not like the track is not expecting to be growing, you know. They're doing so much around to expect that, because the fan base getting bigger, races getting bigger, from Speed Weeks to Governor's Cup coming up. All this stuff's getting big. And, you know, I until I really started thinking about it, like Barbara mentioned here, is these racers and their teams are tinkering on this car Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I mean, it's a nonstop thing. They're constantly doing that. And, you know, the prices of the cars, the machines, the money, and
it's ridiculous.
These are blue collar people for the most part. They're busting their butts 40 hours a week. They're tweaking their cars, unless they got a really nice sponsor, you know, or that's taking care of them, which some do. But it's like having a kid.
Yeah.
It never goes away. I mean, dump all of your extra
or as Barbara put it, a drug addiction.
Yeah. Drug addiction. It was worse than a marriage as far as focus, responsibility, all this stuff. It's wild, man. We getting some comments on there?
Yeah, getting a couple.
All right. Yeah, you want to bring some? I like talking. Maybe if we find something in there. You know, actually, before I do that, speaking of Barbara, actually, as we have been, we have a Virgin Airlines reporter. This reporter has landed and staying at the Marriott. Shout out to the Marriott Spring Hill Suites, our new sponsor that's come on board.
Very nice.
And anyway, he's staying down there, and he asked if he could get driven around the track. And I asked Jane and everybody, I said, is this possible? Like, yeah, sign a waiver. And so Barbara has volunteered to be the driver because he wants a thrill experience.
Yeah, and she'll give it to him for sure.
Yeah, I was like, I'll watch. I'm not
And
going.
You know what? That brings up a good segue to what's going on tonight. Of course, we're racing tonight. We have two 50 lappers.
Let 'em know. Let 'em know.
The American Auto Sportsmen are going 50 laps. The Super Stocks are going 50 laps. We also have the Modifieds in action tonight. Bombers are doing double features. So we have a lot of racing. However, Adam's talking about driving around the track, and we've been talking about getting fans involved. You guys can race your cars here tonight because we're having spectator races at intermission.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I get asked that all the time. Can I come drive my? We get Facebook messages.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, this is the perfect opportunity because all you have to do is pay your general admission cost, and it doesn't cost any extra to come out and race your car, your street car, or you can steal grandma's car and come out and go racing with it. And it's what I tell people is even if you don't want to go out there and run as fast as it'll go, if you just want to go out there and circle around the track a couple of times, this is your opportunity. We'll probably have 6-7 guys out there. And there might be one or two of them that have crazy fast cars and are going, all out. But if you've ever just wanted to drive around the track, because it is really cool to drive, you dive off into those corners. This is your opportunity. And we usually give out, I believe, $100 to the winner, whoever wins it. So if you ever wanted to come out and race your car, drive your car, tonight you can. Spectator races happening during intermission. And that's mixed in with all the great competition we're going to see here tonight. And, we did an update during my little Facebook Live show when I just hop on and talk to everybody, got you all caught up on points and standings and what's been going on. So if you aren't caught up and you want to get caught up before you come to the racetrack, you can check that out. You can watch the YouTube videos of the full races as well. So if you don't know what's been going on here, that's how you can get caught up before you come. And it's going to be
the hot lap, right?
Yes, yeah, the hot lap Facebook Live show that I do just to talk to everybody. And that's kind of how this stemmed. We talk about, well, what else could we do? And now we have this amazing setup, which Adam was up here setting up before I got here. So this is incredible.
I feel like the tech guy, like I'm in the pits, right? I'm like putting up the new
tech
wheels.
guy of a whole different kind.
Right. Getting it all set up and worked up. And, while we are talking, a couple more shout outs to a new sponsor that came on, Bruce Russmeyer's Harley Davidson here in New Smyrna has come on. And they're going to be doing some things here, got their billboards going up. They actually sponsored the entire North grandstands.
Amazing.
So they're going to have all that stuff up. I already mentioned Marriott Spring Hill's come on board, and we're in talks right now. It looks like the Governor's Cup has been sponsored now. So sorry to those of you that were looking to sponsor the Governor's Cup. I know there are a couple, but Universal Technical Institute, Motorcycle Marine Mechanic Institute, they're going to come on and be the big title headliner sponsor for the Governor's Cup.
Incredible. Yeah. And that's what Adam's been doing behind the scenes here when he's not on Facebook and not here at the racetrack. He's been working hard behind the scenes trying to bring some more money in. And like both of us, we're trying to do what we can on with our respective positions to build things up. And as the announcer here, I like to build up the drivers and really talk them up and talk to them and hear their thoughts and concerns. And Adam's been working his butt off trying to sponsoring the Governor's Cup. I mean, that's a big deal. So everybody's working hard here at New Smyrna, and that's our goal here. So with these shows, with what we're doing on Saturday nights or Thursday nights, whenever it might be we're racing, that's our goal, is just make this the best place to be.
Yeah, and interview some drivers,
of course,
and bring out some of that great history of New Smyrna Beach.
Which was incredible to hear, because a lot of that stuff, like I mentioned when Barbara was up here, I've only been here. This is only my third year here, so a lot of the old time history I don't know as much about. I could see who's won here before, but to hear those stories and those moments is incredible. So we'd love to get more drivers up here, and we'll do more interviews down in the pits. We'll probably head down there in a little bit here and get some interviews maybe in between practice sessions and throw that up on Facebook so you guys can get to know our drivers and hear more about what's going on.
Yeah, I think next week we're going to try to have, we did a good interview with David Rogers down there, the man, the myth, the legend, as I was calling him. And I think we're going to put David Rogers in the hot seat here.
That'd be incredible.
Next Saturday at 3:00 is when we're trying to go. Sorry, we were a little late today, everybody.
You got to work out the kinks. There's a lot of stuff up here you got. So.
Yeah, well, we brought a kind of a mini studio almost fully in here. Once we get the better cameras, the monitors and things like that, it'll grow, just like the racetrack is growing. And I think maybe before we close up shop here for the show, man, kind of run through the night like you do, man, and your announcer thing, the way you do it, tell everybody what's happening and what kind of races.
Do the hot lap from right up here and throw it up there on Monday, perhaps. So.
I think you should.
All right,
I think after the races,
I like this setup. So
That'll be cool. Yeah, maybe after the races, you recap them. We'll post everything for Monday. I wish I could do it as well. I don't know it much, but you mentioned one, right? The open races, right? That people during the intermission can come down and race.
The spectator races.
The spectator races, and tell everybody else what other races are happening tonight. Basically everything.
We have there's a lot going on tonight. It's a good night to come out for just $7. For $7, you can come see all this. We got the Sportsman 50. We always have a big Sportsman car count, even just for a regular race. So with the 50 lapper, should be a good car count. I know Sean Bass is already here. Patrick Thomas is here. The big guys are already pulled in. And I'm sure as we've been yapping, there's a ton more cars out there. So we'll head out that way and see who's all here in a minute. But Sportsman, American Auto Sportsman 50, Super Stock 50, those guys have been incredible so far this year. Modifieds are here. They stole the show during the Clyde Hart. If you left early during the Clyde Hart, you missed a thrilling modified race. So those guys are back in action. Plus the Bombers have double features. I think we had like 10 of them before we rained out last week, and they're all getting in free today. So we should have a nice field of Bombers. And then, of course, the Ground Pounders are going to be here, those old vintage race cars. So if you like to see race cars of yesteryear, tonight's your night to come see that, as they're going to be putting on a show. And we're going to have the spectator races tonight. And I believe Wes will be here with his car.
He was a little presumptuous in his picture there, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's ready to win it again. So Wes is going to be up here calling the races with me. We're going to be having a lot of fun up here, entertaining the fans, calling the races, and he's going to go down there and drive his car. And I think if we can get it to work, I might give him the microphone when he does his hot laps and call what it's like when he drives down the front straightaway. So we might try the first ever in-car announcing tonight. So
I love that idea. So as he's trying to now see, that's going to just give him an excuse if he doesn't win now.
Well, yeah, he's going to say, "Oh, I was distracted," and it's only going to work down the front straightaway. But hey, where else are you getting in live?
Hey,
in-car?
Here I come, everybody.
Yeah, all you might hear is, but hey, whatever. We're trying things. We're trying to have fun. That's what it's all about. So it's going to be a lot of fun here in New Smyrna tonight. So make sure you come on out. Hope you guys are enjoying the show, and we're going to be doing this on a weekly basis, and just keep rolling with it and have some fun.
I appreciate it, man. I love this show. This is fun.
It's been fun already.
Yeah,
we could probably talk for the rest of the night, but we should probably get to work.
You should, man. I love your line that you tell everybody here when we leave and show up to the race and leave the race. I think that's how we should leave the show, brother.
Oh, you do like that, huh?
I do.
I was working on that for a few years, but I'm Ryan Stevens, and this is Adam, and we've enjoyed talking about the races with you. See you tonight.